Biggio, but the two of them complement each other and play with such desire that they're two of the best advertisements for the game of baseball. You just don't know them. Well, you do, but until the Astros, let's say, get into a World Series, the nation doesn't look at them the same way as they might some other players who have had the fall spotlight, who are no more talented than these two. Ripped by Bagwell, just foul, says third base umpire Country Joe West.
Well, you've got to spend a lot of time in Montana and Idaho without a
disc. Go to Idaho.
Okay,
I watch TV in Idaho.
You know, by this time, you better know a little bit about Biggio and Bagwell, two of the greatest players that have donned that Astro uniform. And here's a slider that's out over the plate, and Bagwell out in front a little bit, ripped it, and it just hooks foul. See right there, just hooking, foul about 2 feet.
This one to center field. Jones has to go way back toward the track. So this should be the proverbial can of corn, the sacrifice fly for Bagwell. Biggio scores after the leadoff double to the Astros. Hit to the right side, hit sac fly, a 1-0 lead with 2 outs.
Well, when you're in this situation, they have the infield in. All you got to do is get the ball in the air. There's an uppercut swing, a little bit more, working his hands underneath the ball to make sure he gets the ball in the air. And that's 97th RBI for Bagwell this year. Or into the league, or near the league in so many offensive categories: runs, RBI, slugging percentage, on base percentage.
Here's Carl Everett. A little different feel of a cleanup hitter. Of course, you remember Moises Alou would be 4, and they hope to have him back in September, and Ken Caminiti would be 5. But right now, guys like Carl Everett man the cleanup spot. One note on Biggio. That's now the 1,006th run he has scored in the 90s. Second most of any player in this decade, behind only Barry Bonds. The uniform's dirty, and he hadn't even taken the field yet.
Well, he just needs enough time. He's going to be a definite Hall of Famer as long as he is not injured and able to mount up some numbers, because he certainly, they talk about a guy that dominates his position. Offensively and defensively, he dominates his position.
Maddox inside to Carl Everett, 2-2, with Derek Bell on deck. Greg Maddox has won his last 6 starts at home. We told you that he's won 7 of his last 8 starts. But for him, this is his 25th start of the season. And a base hit by Everett. We get to continue to talk about Maddox. 13 of his 24 starts, he's given up 3 runs or less, and 13 of his 24 starts, 7 innings or more. I mean, those are outstanding numbers. But by comparison, Jose Lima, 17 of his 24 starts have been 7 or more innings and 3 runs or less. Doesn't mean that Maddox is having a bad year by any count, but he's usually the only 1 or 2 with those sort of numbers. He's been surpassed.
Shows you what kind of year Lima's had, what kind of pitcher he's developed into. You use Greg Maddox as a criteria for any measuring stick, whether it's innings pitched, 1 loss, earned run average, base on balls to hit ratio, innings pitched to hit ratio. He's always among the top 3 or 4. When you start getting his class, you've become a great pitcher.
On the outside corner to Derek Bell for strike 1. We should mention the umpires tonight. Angel Hernandez is working the plate. Larry Vanover is first base. Randy Marsh, very personable Randy Marsh at second base, and Joe West, the umpire at third. Derek Bell has not had this season thus far that the Astros were hoping for, but, you know, it's still just the second week of August. Yeah, again, not a bad season, but they have room for improvement within their own lineup, and Larry Dierker knows it.
Well, they really do. Caminetti's out. He's been out off and on, pulled a muscle actually in his calf in May, and just has not been able to get that thing right. They expect him back next week. He's going to be a big addition, a big firepower, and they're so right-handed.
There goes Everett on a pitch out, Ray, and Eddie Perez throws in the dirt, but plenty of time. So they have the one red as Everett is thrown out by Perez. And when we return to Atlanta, Jose Lima will have a 1-run lead. in Atlanta. The Astros have scratched through against Greg Maddux. Now the Braves try and come through against 15-game winner Jose Lima. The Braves looking for the series sweep over the tough Houston Astros. Our Labatt's blue lineup. A for Bobby Cox. Gerald Williams, who the Braves have really been looking for some success in the leadoff spot. He has a career-high 13-game hitting streak, and Williams is a leadoff batter this year, .331. For now, he's the answer. Brett Boone, home run double, 4 RBIs last night, hitting second. Chipper Jones at third, hitting third. Brian Jordan, cleanup in right field. Ryan Klesko, homered last night at first base, hitting fifth. Andrew Jones, 22 years young, from Curacao, is in center field, hitting sixth. Recently acquired Jose Hernandez from the Chicago Cubs, hitting seventh. Eddie Perez, just back after his 4-game suspension, eighth. Greg Maddux hitting ninth. They will go against 15-game winner and, as Warren Zevon once sang, an excitable boy, they all said, Jose Lima.
Well, he's excitable. You're going to see just a 26-year-old pitcher that has really matured the last 2 years. 31-14 record over the last 2 years. At 174 innings, is third in the National League. Has a decent fastball, but doesn't overpower you with a fastball. His best pitch is his changeup. He has to keep the ball in when it's up, down when it's away. He's added a little sinker and slider, but his best pitch is his changeup. If you see him with the ball up and out over the plate, he's going to get killed. He has to keep that fastball up and in.
Gerald Williams to deep center field. Carl Everett going back. He leaps, and he makes the catch. A 399-foot drive by Gerald Williams.
399 and a half.
And Andrew Jones ties catch. Maybe he was here Monday night. He said, okay, let me do this.
Really was. That pitch was up and out over the plate. There you see, that ball's going to carry probably about 403.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. 401, 402. That was gone, Ray. I believe that was gone.
Interesting, too, that when we talked to Larry Durkin before the game.
And this is Brett Boone down the right field line. Curving and a sliding. Derek Bell can't catch it. It's bounced up into the seats, or rather down the tunnel, for a double. So, yowza, everybody's swinging at the first pitch against two of the best pitchers in the game, and maybe that's the plan tonight, Ray.
Well, pitchers like Lima and Maddux both work very fast. As a result, hitters go up there thinking aggressive. They're both around the plate, so they're the type pitchers that hitters go up there hacking. You're supposed to be a fastball down and away. That's right where it was. Brett Boone's finally gotten hot after struggling over the last couple of months. Here, Derek Bell makes a very strong effort, runs out of room right over there. It gets real tight down that line. Ball bounces up and hits the wall for a ground rule double.
This is Chipper Jones. You know, a pair of 2 Bs by the 2 Bs tonight. Doubles by the second baseman. You know, Chipper and Craig Biggio, we talked to both of them at length before the game. And Chipper to the right side, handed by Bagwell. He'll take it himself, but Chipper gets the run of Boone over to third base with 2 outs. You know, you look at Chipper Jones and you look at Craig Biggio, and we were at the All-Star game, Ran. I said, you know, I looked at my roster on Tuesday, the players. They're late. No Chipper Jones, no Craig Biggio. I mean, that's no slight to anyone that went. It's just, you just assume they're always there. And neither of those guys were at Fenway this year. But, you know, come on, George. Chipper said, yeah, that's okay. I mean, I have time, and I would have loved to go as swing and a miss at Brian Clay. As Biggio said, I was happy that 3 guys on our team went for the first time. I've experienced many times before. And I think he said, I got to take the training wheels off my kid's bike. That's when the first time he could ride with it, you know, without training. So, he's very analytical, very nonchalant. He wanted to go, but the type of player he is, hey, I stayed at home and I enjoyed myself, and I had 3 teammates go for the first time. Won't be many All-Star games when we see either Biggio.
No, you're right.
That's what I'm trying to say. My long-winded self. Off the fist of foul.
Well, you know, I only played 2 All-Star games, Chris, in my 14-year career, and they were really major highlights. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's an honor, and I don't understand these people that don't go. But the 3 days off during the middle of the summer are huge because you are worn out, and I always embrace that time to be able to go home, spend a couple of days at home.
Base hit by Brian Jordan. That's a clutch two-out hit. And that scores Brett Boone, and we're knotted at 1. So doubles and then working the guys around the bases are how both the Astros and the Braves have scored against two of the best pitchers. But let's make no mistake about it, and we'll close the story. Chipper and Biggio really both wanted to go, but they were quite philosophical about not going.
They were, no question about it. Brian Jordan has gotten so many two-out base hits this year. Talking to Donnie Baylor, he just really battles you with runners in scoring position. Shortens his swing, has the ability to hit some home runs, has 20 home runs. That's his 92nd RBI, and about 20 of those have been with two outs and runners on second base or third base.
Ryan Klesko has 2 hits in each of the first 2 games of this series. Fastball high by Lima. Another thing about Chipper and Klesko, Ray, we remember when they came up, we were already doing the games on ESPN. I know the pitchers are the leaders on the team, but I mean, they're the veterans now. Chipper Jones and Ryan Klesko, the veterans who have been here. You know what I mean? Who have seen all the success and the October heartbreak and the 95 win. Look at the clubhouse. They're young, but they're the voice to the Andrew Joneses who are trying to pass the torch and educate along the way. They were once the kids.
They were the kids, and it still seems like to me that they are the kids. I mean, Chipper Jones has been around, 5 years now, and it seems like just yesterday. But these guys still just 28 years old and got another 7, 8, maybe 10 years ahead of them. They're so solid physically. As we see Lima begin to struggle a little bit, walking Klesko. But they have become the veterans of this ball club.
Vern Golden Rule is out to the mound, who's worked so well with Lima. And, he's excitable, and that's all fun. And sometimes maybe he works himself. You can work yourself into such a lather. And I'm not saying that's what's happening now, but it can be counterproductive, right?
I think it is what's happening now, Chris. Talking to Larry Dierker in an extended time, you and I, before the ball game, he said the things you have to watch out with Jose is he is so emotional. He does get so charged up that in big games, that first 20 or 30 pitches, he sometimes overthrows. He's not one of those pitchers that overpowers you. He's a finesse pitcher that uses his changeup to get crucial outs.
With 2 on, Andrew Jones is up, and he's really been scuffling. He's 2 for his last 28. He's out early for extra hitting today, and I spoke with him, and I said, hey, great catches out there. And he said, well, I can't hit. I got a catch. And this isn't going to sit well with him either as he pops foul. The catcher, Baco, making the play, and 2 men are left. So Lima and Maddox have pitched 1, and we're tied 1-1. Top of the second inning, and 92-degree hot Atlanta. The Astros and the Braves, 1-1, Chris Berman and Ray Knight. Glad you're enjoying this battle between the 2 National League teams with the best record. And the Cleveland Indians, who certainly had the best record in baseball for a long while. They're a Sunday night game at the Jake against the Baltimore Orioles with John and Joe. Cleveland has bounced back a little bit. Currently a game behind the Yankees for baseball's best record, and that'll involve matchups in home field as we look toward that. So that's Sunday night baseball at 8 Eastern, 5 on the West Coast, 2 o'clock in Hawaii. The Jake, one of those new yards which always is packed, and here's the feeling at Turner Field. And I know it's hard to believe, Ray, but I know it's the 3rd year for Turner Field. I have not been in here yet. So
it's hard to believe.
This is great. Although it's less, and here's a little chopper by Derek Bell, who, remember, was at the plate whenever it was gunned out, so he bats again. To young fans, that's how it works. You get to start over with an at-bat. And there is 1 out. Young Darrell Ward will come to the plate as Chipper makes the play at there. But what I was trying to say is, and I know this isn't news, but unlike all the new parks, the Jake and certainly Baltimore and Colorado and Texas, there are no, I don't want to say gimmicks, but there's no real crevices in the wall out there. In other words, that right center is deeper than center field. The configurations are more of the old time, more of the 20 and 30-year-old parks than of the ones that are 80 years old. I'm not saying that's good or bad, right? But
very symmetrical.
Inside-out swing by good hitter Darrell Ward, and a diving attempt is made by Gerald Williams, but he couldn't hold on to it when he hit the ground. That ball looked like it would hang up there a longer time. I mean, it's not like you get a bad jump on it. I don't think he thought it was that shallow.
It was weird. I think he got a little late jump on it, Chris, and I think the ball also was hit on the end of the bat, and then you see right there the ball hits right in the pocket of the glove. A lot of times when you dive like this, your knees hit the ground before your glove does. Before your glove's extending, it jars your glove just a little bit. And you'll see here, his knee hits the ground before his glove there. It jars it and causes the ball to hit his heel and bounce out.
So with one on, catcher Paul Bacco goes the other way, and another long run for Williams, and he won't make that one. So 2 balls the opposite way off Greg Maddux. Not by Bagwell and Biggio, by Darrell Ward and Paul Bacco, who was all concerned about his nickname before the game. He said, you know, in the minors, I always want to know. He said, well, I can't go with Bacon, you know, and I mean, if you hit a homer, it's Bacco. So, I mean, that's easy.
Right.
Yeah, but I may not get one against Madison, so work on it. So we got all game. He was anxious. It's tough when you're under pressure. President Clinton asked me what his nickname was, and I decided to take that pitch for a strike.
Yeah, I would take that one.
You know, we talked about first pitch. 5 of the 7 Astros have swung at the first pitch, right? Now here's Gutierrez, Ricky Gutierrez, back after an injured hand at short last night. Made a key error. A little rusty. And he now has worked the count to 1-1.
And that pitch right there is the pitch. Had an extensive talk with Bobby Cox before the ball game, and he wasn't belittling umpires at all, just stating what he thought were facts. And I've seen also that Greg Maddux early in the season battled the strike zone that he was accustomed to. Umpires have changed a little bit according to...
Oh, look at Chipper make the play over to second base to Brett Boone. They only get the middleman. Bacco is out at second. Ward over the third. Gutierrez on the fielder's choice.
According to the directive sent out where the umpire was, where the strike zone would be actually called more strictly. You see Angel there. And Bobby, along with that idea of umpires changing the strike zone, has been ejected 9 times this year.
Well, you know, there's
and
a little...
he's in first place. He's in first place. Come on, Bob.
Jose Lima, and you would imagine that his hitting stroke is a little demonstrative. He gave the Melot Sadaharu waggling front foot. Watch it, Ray.
I don't know how good a hitter he is, but I watch him
hitting 118.
Well, he swings the bat, though.
Well, bat and ball go up the middle, and Maddux is going to make the ceremonial tag and give him the ball. How about that? By the way, you'll need this next half inning. Greg Maddux is full service, isn't he? We'll be back. Back in the bottom of the second inning, Chris Berman and Ray Knight. Astros and Braves, Jose Lima, Greg Maddux. And how about this? First the kick, then the sawed-off bat, then Maddux.
That's some serious sawing right there. And watch Greg Maddux as Lima has a great time. Talks about how much he enjoys the game. Look at him taking the ball back. Then he kind of sticks his tongue out here. Says, my goodness gracious, he got it on me. That hurt.
Now what? He had that little piece of the bat.
I've done
well,
that.
just in case there's a little problem, you just want to make sure you have it with you, or what? That was funny. That was unusual. He had that little smile. And now he goes out and pitches. Well, he had time to work the ball up.
They talk about Lima and whether or not he offends the opposition by his antics. And I read a quote.
Jose Hernandez hits it a long way. Back on! His first home run as a member of the Atlanta Braves, his 16th in all. I guess Lima didn't rub that ball up enough.
He must have not have, but early on you remember me saying, Chris, as Larry Durker told me that if he gets the ball out over the plate, that he will be in trouble with that fastball up and out over the plate. That pitch to Hernandez, up, out over the plate, showing you the power. Look where this ball is. Out over the plate, almost on the outside corner, but belled high. And that's the one place that Lima's ball straightens up, flattens out. His reaction.
Little chopper over Lima. Biggio in the dirt to Bagwell, not in time. And the catcher, Eddie Perez, with a knee problem and just off the 4-game suspension, beats it out.
I'm going to talk about that quote after this at bat by Maddox, because what we're going to do here, Braves are really good at bunting. They're going to bunt him over right here. There, Perez fooled in just one of those infield base hits on a deflection there that slows the ball down and does not enable Biggio to get to the ball. Maddox, a great bunter.
All these Braves pitchers handle the bat so well. Every one of them.
They do, and
well,
they work on it.
veterans. Millwood is not. Tommy Glavine is a lifetime 200 hitter. He hits 205. Maddox this year is hitting just over 200. He's a lifetime 178 hitter. Smoltz hits 165. I mean, that's 20, 25 points difference than a lot of teams in that number 9 hole in the National League. That can come back to win games for you. A bunt popped. Bagwell actually had some time with the catcher, Perez, who had to wait to see if it would be caught.
Well, you actually work on this play in spring training where you go up to the ball and you let the ball fall and you get the lead runner because he's not running. Sometimes you can throw to first base and actually decoy the runner because he stays there because he thinks you're going to catch the ball. But what happens, Bagwell does not sell it. You see there, he starts to get off the bag and then he doesn't sell it. He sees the ball hop. Bagwell's got plenty of time with Eddie Perez's speed or lack of speed to go to second base, chooses to go to first.
Gerald Williams bunts it down. Now let me ask you a question. Biggio took a quick look. The bags is disgusting. Was there any way that they thought that they could do it backwards?
That's what I'm saying. On the deke play or the decoy, when you go and you attempt to catch the ball and then you let it drop, a lot of times the runner's fooled and he doesn't run. He gets real close to the base because he thinks he's going to get doubled off. Eddie
So
Perez,
you go to first,
right,
and second, later?
right.
Do you think they thought Biggio looked to throw? Do you think they thought they could pull that off?
That is
or do you think
what I'm
Bagwell
saying.
made a mistake?
No, I'm saying that you work on that in spring training. And they're talking about it right there. He thinks that he dekes the runner to keep him close to first base. And he goes to first and then Baggy could throw to second. But what happened, Perez did not bite on the play. And got a bigger lead, and Biggio could not go to second base. Here we're going to see it again.
They're still talking about it. They're still talking about it. Meanwhile, Biggio to Bagwell the conventional way is...
Watch Eddie Perez. Watch Eddie Perez get a bigger lead. And here you go. Bagwell comes in. He's going to try to decoy and act like he's going to catch the ball in the air. So Perez sees the ball on the ground, goes ahead and takes off. Bagwell goes to first base, thinking that Perez would be closer to first base and Biggio could go to second. But Perez did a great job recognizing the ball, got a bigger lead, and was not able to turn a double play.
All right.
You got that?
Yes, I do. Now they had one last question for young first baseman. Bagwell has his back all the way to Perez. There's no way that he knows how far off the base he is. So he has to wheel and make a decision right then. Do I go to second and get the short thing and probably not get the double play, or get the backwards double play? I mean, should someone else, the catcher, yell? Or I mean, that's a split.
There should be communication, but let me tell you what I'm thinking on that play. With a runner like Maddox, a bad bunt, you come up, fill the ball, throw to second base, get the lead runner, and you'll turn two. Because Maddox is squaring the bunt. You don't have to deke anybody. That was such a poor bunt, it was a double play written all over.
This was not a poor swing. Brett Boone sends it back, gone! The little second baseman has come alive. He's really been struggling the last month. But a two-run homer, a two-run double last night. And a two-run shot here has given the Braves a big margin over Jose Lima.
Well, Brett is a big swinger. He's a little guy, about 5'10". Lima not real happy with himself, but again, making some mistakes, getting the ball out over the plate. Brett Boone, last year, 24 home runs. This year, as you said, really struggling. Been so inconsistent. That's his 16th home run. But I manage Brett Boone. I coach Brett Boone. And one thing he thinks about is that he's a power hitter. And he goes in the slumps. He's very streaky. But I tell you, for a little guy, he can generate a lot of thunder.
Home run last night, Ray, went 430 feet. That didn't go as far, but that was a no-doubter. 22 home runs surrendered by Jose Lima, including 2 this inning. So, in as well as he's pitched, he is wont to surrender the long ball. And remember, half his games in the Astrodome, a certain pitcher's park.
Well, that's where he has to throw the fastball. You throw your hardest pitch in and up, and your softest pitch down and away.
Wow, that chipped out to right center field, and that's gone. Are we at the launching pad? I mean, did I get the wrong
Across
address?
the street.
I don't think I'm at the right place here. Chipper Jones with home run number 29. They did this last night. Boone and Chipper back-to-back. They've done it again. Back-to-back homers, back-to-back nights.
Look where the pitch is. Out over the plate. A little down, but that's where left-handers like it. But again, has not been able to push the hitters off the plate. And we've talked about his changeup being his best pitch. He has not been able to get to his changeup. They're hitting his fastball. You've got to be able to get to that changeup deep in the count. Braves not going deep in the count, hitting the fastball real hard.
For Chipper, 20 of his 29 home runs have come left-handed. And there's a little flare over the reach of Biggio by Brian Jordan. And the 2-out disaster continues for Jose Lima. With 2 outs, a 2-run homer to Boone, a solo homer to Chipper, and now a single to Brian Jordan. And a little phone work done by the Astros, Larry Dierker, Vern Rule, and a little trip by the pitching coach.
You have to slow him down now. He's got that mercurial temper, the attitude, kind of hot-headed, everything full throttle. You got to go down, calm him down a little bit, slow him down. He has a tendency to work fast anyway. Sometimes you just get the ball and throw it as opposed to preparing to pitch. Vern Rule didn't say a whole lot.
But the Atlanta Braves, seems like the sight of the good teams really wakes them up. They were talking about that with me earlier, Ray, at the batting cage. I don't know, we play the good teams and we wake up. 5-1 against the Astros, with a commanding lead to try and make it 6-1 against the Astros with, of course, obviously a long way to go. Ryan Williams is up in the Astros pen. As Ryan Klesko fouls it off. This will be the last time. There's Williams. This will be the final time, you know, because you don't play everybody home and home twice anymore when you're not in the division. So these two clubs will not see each other after tonight until perhaps October. Long fly, but this time there's room for Carl Everett. And Klesko is retired to end the inning. But an inning that began with a Jose Hernandez home run, it continues with a Brett Boone home run, and was capped off by a Chipper Jones home run as the Braves in the driver's seat. 5-1. Back in Atlanta, Greg Maddux now working with a 4-run lead. And what fireworks. I mean, Ray, there were no cheapies to those 3 home runs. They were Bacos, weren't they?
They definitely were busted.
Ouch. Well, here are the Astros doing what they do best. Let's start the chip back at Greg Maddux. Who better to start it off with than Craig Biggio, who is now 2 for 2. Well, we didn't quite expect all these fireworks with Lima and Maddox on the mound, did we?
Well, Lima, that's the 22nd home run he's given up this year, so, he has a penchant for throwing balls out over the plate. We mentioned earlier, as Larry Durker told us, any pitch that he throws up out over the plate is a mistake. And all those balls have been out over the plate. And as a result, the balls hit a long, long way.
Billy Spires. We talked about a little bit because he, of course, broke him with Milwaukee. Talked about Cooperstown before the game and how proud he was to have been a teammate of Robin Yount. Of course, a teammate of Paul Molitor, who will be joining Yount in about 5 years at Cooperstown. Biggio is certainly one of the best in the game now. But, I mean, Billy Spires, and he was a youngster. He played around Robin Yount and Paul Molitor. Said so much rubbed off on him, obviously. I just want to say, Ray, I haven't really had a chance to say it since. That was one of my personal all-time days. Just at Cooperstown, I know a lot of fans viewed it, shared it live at ESPN for the first time in a long while. It was, baseball, it's hard to top these last couple of years. Just what's happened in baseball with the All-Star salute with Ted Williams and everyone. And Cooperstown with Ted, Willie Mays going back along with Brett and now with Ryan and Orlando Cepeda, and then 500, 3,000, and 3,000 on 3 straight nights. I mean, oh, snap throw down. I just got whisking on Robin Yount a little bit, seeing Billy Spires. But, Ray, baseball has had a better 2 years. We don't know what September and October are going to bring.
Well, I go back to '94, Chris, when I was a coach with the Reds, and there was a strike, and 95, 96, just nobody cared anymore. There had been so much labor stoppage and so much bickering amongst the owners and the players that I really wondered if baseball was going to come back. And suddenly, as it always has, with the heroics of a lot of players, back to where it started.
Ooh, Hernandez. Let's go. Not quite. Good hustle down there.
This ball right here, just a little bit of bobble, getting the ball out of his glove there, Brett Boone, and as a result, gave a little softer throw. Ball got hung up just a tad, you see right there, gives a little softer throw. Hernandez always seems to take the ball on the backside of the bag with his feet flat. We saw him in Pittsburgh last week. He needs to come on across that bag and make that throw with some momentum toward first base. I know I can see it. I know their coaches ought to be able to see it.
Whoa, we can see this one. Jeff Bagwell, the center field back goes down. Not even he can bring it back. Here come the Astros. 2-run shot, Bagwell. Are you sure we're not at the launching pad?
Yes, across the street.
I think we got the wrong address. Jeff Bagwell, who is, and Jose Lima says, hey, we're in this thing. Look at Bagwell. Driven in all 3 Astro runs tonight, Ray.
Well, that gives him, for the season,
100? Is that a
100. That's his 5th home run lifetime against Bagwell. Against Mr. Maddox.
That'll bring up Carl Everett. A shot that Brett Boone makes a super play. It was almost too much to ask him to make the throw. My goodness.
That's a tremendous play. Brett Boone, Gold Glove winner last year, great range. He almost has time to get up on this ball. Everett hits the ball so hard, he makes a dive. You see, he's only 4 steps out of the batter's box. He chooses to throw from his knee, a little flip throw off line. You see there, he's still 4 steps from the bag. But Boone making the great play, and he probably should have come up. People weren't watching Ray Ordonez too much. Comes up to his feet there and makes that throw. I think he's got it. But nonetheless, tremendous play by the slick fielding little second baseman.
Well, he hit the ground so hard that he's now a slick fielding second base.
Something like that.
Now, let me ask you something here, Ray. So we have Jose Lima and Greg Maddox, okay? They go into the game tonight with 28 wins. We're still in the second inning. They've given up 8 runs, 14 hits, and 4 home runs. In the third inning, as Joaquin Andujar once said about baseball, you can sum it up in one word. You never know.
Baggy made those comments earlier about Maddox, on how tough it was to pick him up. And what he's done his first 2 at-bats, he had the sacrifice fly to center field. He swung at the first pitch. On that home run there, he swung at the first pitch. So he doesn't want to get too deep in the count, starting to thinking, because he doesn't pick up the ball well anyway. He just goes up there hacking at the first thing that he sees that looks big. Here's a home run swing, and there it is, just kind of little middle end, but up. And any time that you're strong as Jeff Bagwell is, that's built-in elevation when the ball is above your belt. With that kind of bat speed, that kind of strength, the ball up there is already elevated. All you got to do is get most of it, and it flies out of the ballpark. And that's why they tell you, keep the ball down.
Hernandez will take it in the south and then make the throw to Klesko for the double play on Garrett Bell. But not until the Astros cut the deficit in half on Jeff Bagwell's 36th home run of the year. 5-3 Atlanta. Bottom of the third inning in Atlanta, and the ball is left out. 4 home runs, 3 by the Braves. The third time, by the way, they've hit 3 homers in 1 inning. What do they do for an encore against Jose Lima? They try to bunt it. Oh, and Lima with a... Is he all right? Now, Fred, I'm only chuckling because I thought it was just histrionics, but that was a heck of a play. It was a weird
play.
A weird one.
He may have hurt his leg right there stretching for that ball.
I thought he was just ecstatic having made the play, like, oh, my goodness.
Oh, he's hurting. Gosh. Oh. Well, he may have somehow knocked the breath out of himself.
I'm hoping that's what
I'm hoping that's what it is.
He twisted and turned. I guess what it is. They went a long way to make that play on the bunt. Long way.
I don't know that I've ever seen any pitcher go to the infield portion of the grass and the infield portion where the dirt comes.
I know. That was.
Look at this.
It's like a 30-yard run from scrimmage.
That's an athletic play. That's tough to do. It's tough enough to pick the ball up when you're going toward it. When it's going away from you, it's doubly tough. And then to make a spin and a throw, and I don't know what's hurting him, but
he's all right.
He's going to be okay.
I thought so. It's like, oh, he's out. Oh, what did I just do? Well, he's had the bat in his hand, you know, and grounded to Maddox and had Maddox give him the ball. He spun on the dirt at second base, making a play, giving up 3 home runs in 1 inning, and all of this in chase of his 16th win of the year. Pepperdine Pete Pasquarelli tells us that suggested he's flopped on his Baco, which he did. Meanwhile, Ray, last inning.
Ball out over the plate. What we're seeing is the 3 home runs. Ball out over the plate, a little bit down. Then a ball out over the plate, down again. But all those pitches out away from the hitters. Larry Durker was emphatic about he has to keep the ball in to set up his changeup, and he's not done that thus far tonight.
Now against Jose Hernandez, who began that home run barrage, which we just showed you. Now, how about 4 homers in 18 lifetime at-bats against Jose Lima? I mean, that's a pretty high number. That's routine.
Yes.
Why are we in?
I guess we're probably going to have to start using the McGuirean.
Associate.
Guys
Great. Doesn't get any better than what we've seen, I'm telling you.
Boomer, you know, as juiced up as the ball is, I bet you could hit 2 or 3 home runs.
Me?
Yep.
You seen me swing lately?
I haven't lately, no. Nor have I seen you
Nor
swing.
should you swing. Well, you want me to use the Mo Norman version for baseball that I use for golf? It's a strikeout for Hernandez. I'd like to think I could hit 2, Ray.
Lehman, there's a changeup that he's been trying to get to. You see the reaction there. He doesn't do that to show anybody up. He does it to pump himself up. And Jeff Bagwell, pretty emphatic about explaining that to the nation. that he does not in any way mean to show anybody up, and he actually was quoted as saying, look, if a guy hits a home run, I don't care if he dances around the bases. He should be happy. And I'll tell him, go ahead and dance, sing, do anything you want to do. We're supposed to have fun playing baseball.
That's good.
So if he has that attitude, hey, let him do whatever he needs to do to be successful.
A little reach out, a little looper to shortstop that Gutierrez handles. So, my goodness, what we thought we would see all along. An 8-pitch, 1-2-3 inning. 5-3 Atlanta. Back in Atlanta, there's been a little bit for everybody. Braves lead the Astros 5-3 in the top of the fourth, and on Friday the 13th, we've got a little bit for you football fans. ESPN's first of 4 preseason games. We begin at 7:30 Eastern this Friday with the NFL tonight. And at 8:15, the Minnesota Vikings, team with the best record in the East. Well, and everybody last year, 15-1, host the New York Football Giants. Randy Moss do it again, get her first look at the Vikings this Friday night on ESPN, and swinging at the first pitch is Darrell Ward. Singled in the second inning, the young left fielder, and he makes the play, 1 up, 1 down. Ward, one of the many. You talk about a trade with a lot of people. As we look at Paul Bacco. What do we do with Paul Bacco, by the way? Bacco in the USA, get Bacco to where you want to belong, get the ball down the right field line. That'll rattle around off the UPS sign. He's delivered a double to the front door. What? Are they swinging at the first pitch tonight or what, Ray? I mean, it's just like the hitters are double parked outside the stadium. We write something down and ba-boom. It's a good game plan because, boy, the hitters have had the advantage tonight.
Well, these are two classic pitchers that try to get ahead of you, and then when they do get ahead of you, their best pitch is something other than their fastball. Both have great change-ups. So hitters know that. They know the scouting reports. The scouting report comes in from the advanced scout. Tells you that.
Swing at the first pitch is Ricky Gutierrez. Slow hopper, then Hernandez makes the play over to Klesko. Bacco over to third, 2 out.
What those scouting reports tell you is that how often the starting pitcher on that day, or even the guys from the bullpen, throws strikes first pitch.
Hey, Rick, 17 Astros have come to the plate. 12 have swung at the first pitch.
Well, they know with Greg that he's going to throw that first pitch somewhere around the plate to try to get ahead of you. And then he's going to go to work on you. And that's the pitch that... And he's not afraid to throw the fastball early in the count. There it is again. Comes right at you with the first pitch fastball. And you find almost without failure that the great pitchers come at you with a fastball and get ahead of you. And then they go to their other stuff. There's a sinker. Eddie Perez has always been Maddox's catcher, his personal catcher. Look how far he sets up outside. This ball is a good 3 or 4 inches off the plate. And
Lima comes
look at that kick.
That is
mercy.
That is Sadaharu Oya or Mel Adian. Hey, at least he goes up there hacking, huh?
He has.
We need to talk to him about the Mo Norman, though, way to swing, don't we?
Needs to cut down on that thing.
So Lima will try his hand on the mound. 5-3 Atlanta. This is fun. Bottom of the fourth inning in a fun ball game. The leaders in the NL East, the Atlanta Braves, lead the leaders in the NL Central, the Houston Astros, 5-3. But over their shoulders, not only are the Mets and Reds chasing each of these teams, Ray, but as you look at the wild card race, the Braves, who were in this standings a couple of days ago until they retook first place, I mean, what Larry Dierker told us is, you know, barring a major run by the Giants, who are going the wrong way right now, or Arizona, to have them a 2-team race out there with the loser in the wild card, there's 4 teams for 3 spots. The Reds, Astros, Braves, Mets. One of those 4 will miss the dance, as well as they've all played. That's basically the way it comes down. As Maddox grounds to short, and Gutierrez throws to Bagwell.
And the reason for that is because the The Braves and Mets are in one division, Astros and Reds are in the other. There's just no way mathematically that you're going to have one wild card team and two division winners, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks, unless, as you say, the Giants or someone else out there hits extremely hot.
Well, so the Braves have to look at the Reds in some ways, and the Astros have to look at the Mets.
Yeah,
in some ways.
This is a crucial situation.
In addition to the division.
Right. This is where you go out and you play baseball every day to win this ball game. You don't worry about who you're playing, because every game that you play, whether it's, playing the Astros or the Cardinals, playing the Mets, every one of those ball games are critical, and you have 4 teams with a chance, and there's so many different combinations there. So you got to go do what the Reds are doing. The Reds, they're just going out and playing good baseball every day and putting the best numbers up, hoping that somewhere at the end of the season, whatever amount of wins they have is higher than 2 guys.
Oh, watch it. Bat going 5 rows behind the Astros dugout.
I've always said you get in front
Hope
of a
everybody's
baseball,
all right here.
but you don't try to get in front of a bat. This guy right here, why don't you try to catch his bat? What is he doing? Get out of the way. You get in front of the baseball, but you don't get in front of the bat.
So you know how you know, and they gave it to him, huh?
I don't blame him. He earned that thing.
Now what?
He's going to give it back. They're going to get him another bat, not
bat.
a gamer.
All right, now we got to sort it out. You know what? You come in the scorebook, HP is hit by pitch. So that fan goes on HB, hit by bat.
That little guy working hard right there.
They do work hard. Bat boys.
It's funny, Chris. You order bats, you get 12 bats generally. Those things are precious, and ball clubs don't like to order a whole lot. So you order 12 at a time, and when you order those bats, maybe 6 of them will be real good bats.
Nice play made, but it's a foul ball.
What I mean by that is you get thick grain bats are generally the bats with the better wood. Thin grain bats that have softer wood and tend to dent more.
All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you something.
I know that, but go ahead. I'm not going to
What?
No, keep going.
Oh, what do you want?
No, keep going. Keep going. Full count.
Okay. And so what happens is with those bats, you only have 1 or 2 that feel real good. So that's why they always get that bat back.
Well, this bat that they got him back, as Williams has struck out, feels real good. Even though he's over 3 tonight, he has a 13-game hitting streak. I don't know if it's soft, hard, or what. It's hot.
He likes it. And, there you see the changeup, and that's what Lima lives on, is that changeup. He's got a great changeup, and he loves to pitch. He loves to play. I love this. I love that expression, the happiness. He just feels good about himself, and he's going to pitch himself right back in this ballgame. Already has.
Well, he had the numbers of all his injured players, and, of course, with what Larry Dierker, the manager, went through, and the hitting coach Tom McCraw, and Jose Cruz was ill as well. I'll have to elaborate here when we come back. As Gutierrez makes the play, and Brett Boone is out, and all of a sudden Lima's retired 7 straight. He wants to put everybody's number on his hat. He had the Braves number that in. Chris Berman, Ray Knight with you in Atlanta. We moved to the top of the 5th. Teams had a lot of hitting and lately some pitching, which we expected from Greg Maddux and Jose Lima. 5-3 the Braves. This copyrighted telecast, presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. The Astros begin down 5-3. And for the 3rd time tonight, the leadoff man, Craig Biggio, is leading off. He doubled in the 1st and scored, singled in the 3rd. He's erased on a fielder's choice.
I like that pitch. Maddux does that as well as anybody. 2 base hits, comes back with a fastball inside. Looks like a pitch that he wants to swing at, checks that, nothing you can do about it, and that sets up anything now soft and away. Ooh, good pitch. You know, Bobby Cox also told me that Maddox has not gotten more than 20 called third strikes this year, and he generally has 80, 90 a year.
Wow.
Punch-out call strikes. I mean, punch-outs. 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, punch-out call third strike.
Well, that's one of the differences. No wonder Bobby's been yanked out 9 times. You know, there's a room as Biggio grounds to Hernandez, and is retired for the first time tonight. There's a room right behind home plate where there's a couple of computer in there. There's a couple of monitors, and Bobby was sitting there when we came to the field. When I left, and as usual, I was the last one to leave the field.
Still in there.
He was still in there, although he changed it. I changed. I came back. I said, Bobby, is this the room you sit in when you get tossed out of the game and kind of hit and run, you know, pitch out, make the calls from here? He says, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. He had a little wink in his eye.
Right.
That's right behind home. Well, you can't see it, but it's as if you would walk directly behind home plate. There's a little room, there's a little door. That's Bobby's hideaway.
Yeah,
you know, you've been managing.
Mission control.
You've been managing as long as Bobby Cox. Managing as well as Bobby Cox. You should have a hideaway. How about Bobby in his 18th year? You know, he's 18th all time on the win list. With, well, this year he should get to 1,500 wins. No, says Joe West. Should get to 1,500 wins as a manager, Ray.
Bobby didn't like it.
Now, how about this one for Bobby Cox? The count is 1-1 to Billy Spires. He is managed in 92 postseason games. Now, I know, I mean, there's no way you can compare Stengel and Miller Huggins and McCarthy and those guys because there was only the World Series back then. But you now have 3 rounds of the playoffs. 92 postseason games. That's 88 postseason and 4 All-Star. I should elaborate, but 92 games.
And he still has that great intensity.
Won 48, lost 40 of the Braves' 88 postseason games.
You know what's interesting?
Don Run. Now, no, remember he had one with Toronto.
So what's really interesting is a lot of these managers now, when I broke in, were managing in the low minor leagues. Bobby Cox, 1972, I was in Three Rivers, Canada. He was managing the West Haven Yankees in the Eastern League. And I got to know him real well. I was a third.
What year was that?
1972. And I was a third baseman there for the Three Rivers Eagles.
Trois-Rivières.
Trois-Rivières. However you say that, brother.
He taught a Georgian how to speak French. That was tougher to teach you to play baseball.
I have a tough enough time speaking English. Jimmy Williams first ran into him in 1975 in Mexico. So these guys paid a lot of dues.
Bobby's one of our favorites.
You see them now, but I remember them when they were just young managers. Bobby at that time started managing about 35, 36 years old. Managing that ball club that had Otto Velez on it.
Otto Velez. Meanwhile, Cox kind of giving Angel Hernandez a little look, or Joe West, or a combination thereof, because Maddox lost Spires. And here's Bagwell, who homered at center the last time, and he roped one to left center field, with Spires will move into third base, and the Astros have runners on the corner. 2 hits for Bagwell tonight.
And again, swinging on the first pitch.
It's hard to put either of these two teams away. The Braves gave a pretty good knockout punch with 3 homers in 1 inning. But here come the Astros.
And you see here, just a fastball right at him. Line drive bullet right over shortstop. It's almost the same pitch that he hit out of the ballpark as Billy Spires. Done a great job for this ball club, playing shortstop, third base, a little bit of outfield last week. And Jeff Bagwell, I mentioned earlier, he's first in runs scored, second in total bases, fourth in slugging, first in walks, first in on-base percentage. That's MVP if you ask me.
Carl Everett fooled by that pitch, strike 1. Everett single to center, caught stealing. Single to right center, out on a double play. A little waggle. Inside, 1-1.
Bagwell has stolen 23 bases this year also to go with those 36 home runs. So he's just having one of the best all-around years that you can put up numbers-wise.
Waggle, right?
Yeah, that's one thing. Hitters have a little idiosyncrasy. Some use their legs, as you saw Lima. He uses his legs. Some people.
But he's not a hitter.
No, he's not. But some people use their hips. Some people their knees. Just as a kind of a relaxing mechanism. Everett uses that little waggle with his hands, but he comes to a complete stop just before he sets up to hit. He's got that hand action movement, and then just as the ball comes out, he pushes his hands back. So this is just a relaxing mechanism for him.
Inside out. Gerald Williams makes the catch. Here comes Spires, the throw to second base. And the Astros, once down 5-1, have now cut it to 5-4.
Just watch Carl Everett here as he sets up. Talked about the waggle. Watch his swing as he waggles there with his hand, and he prepares. Watch how he sets that front set, sets the bat there, pauses a little bit, glides with his front foot enough to stay back on that changeup and drive it deep enough to score that run from third base.
Derek Bell, round to third. Hit it a double play and short. Derek is over 2 tonight. I'm thinking, the reason I'm stumbling a little bit, I'm kind of thinking there's a big-time hitter over the years that had a waggle like that. I don't mean the pump like R. Joe Morgan or many others would circle it, pops, you know, which, I mean...
Bobby Tolan had his hands real high and had movement there.
I know Junior moves the bat, but not like that. I don't think. I mean, there's something to think about here. I mean, I haven't seen Everett play that much. I saw him with the Mets and stuff here, but waggle now has got me thinking. There's some big-time hitter that that's really loose. That's not in any, like, ready-to-strike type. See, Bell is moving it differently. The throw by Eddie Perez. Bagwell has stolen second base. The Bags. Number 24. Is there anything he doesn't do?
He gets a great jump there on Greg Maddux. Maddux has the attitude, I'm not worried about the runners on base. I've got the type of stuff that I can throw and get people out, especially with 2 outs. Eddie Perez, really not much of a chance. Maddux, one of the slowest delivers of the ball to the plate in all of baseball, but he just doesn't worry about that runner too much.
Well, there usually aren't runners.
Nope.
You're right, though. He is, if there is, hey, nobody is perfect. If there is one thing about Maddux, is he is one of the easier regular big-time pitchers to steal. You wouldn't necessarily think so, although he is righty, because he's not big, high kick, and all sorts of extra motion. You wouldn't necessarily think that he's a right-handed power pitcher who just takes longer to come to the plate.
He's just so mechanically sound, Chris, that it takes him a while to set everything up, and he doesn't want to rush. That's the worst thing you could do as a pitcher. You've got to stay over the mound, and he does. And that's pretty much intentional there. With first base open, not going to give Derek Bell anything to hit. But watch his motion here, just how slow and deliberate it is. He brings his hands up, you know, just above his chest there, brings his knee up, drops his hand straight back, almost draws that ball out of there like drawing a bow and arrow, finishes up on the balls of his feet, very balanced. That's why he's won so many gold gloves as Leo Mazzoni goes out, and just going to ask him how he feels. You know, sometimes Greg's not really emotional, but when he doesn't get pitches that he's accustomed to getting, you know, it stays with him just a little while. Leo Mazzoni, one of the big things in being a great pitching coach is the ability to read the body language of your pitchers, and he pretty much has just raised these guys in his pitching staff.
4 time in a row Cy Young Award winner. Earlier I said he won 3 in a row. I meant he won 3 in a row with the Braves. He won the season before that with the Cubs. Inside-out swing by young Gerald Ward. Foul ball. Oh, man, not by much.
Wow.
Joe West gave the call.
Yeah, and if we...
There it is.
You don't see Joe West, obviously. We're way up in that picture. But one thing I like to see is that third base umpire get on out there. Get on near that line. Joe West just kind of turned around and looked at that ball. That's a long way out there. And, you know, I like to see that third base umpire turn around, sprint down that line, get a little better look. Joe obviously got it right.
Yes, he did. Ripped right into the glove of Plesko. So Ward, one of the many Astros that came over from Detroit a year ago in the trade with Jose Lima. Leaves 2 runners on. It's a 5-4 game. 5-4 game, and if Jose Lima wins tonight, he would join his teammate Mike Hampton as the only 16-game winners in the National League. Shane Reynolds, who pitched well but lost here last night, has won 14 games. All 3 guys could easily, Ray, win 20 games this year. The last time a team had 3 20-game winners was the 1973 World Champion Oakland A's, with, oddly enough, I'm certainly a man in the news, Catfish Hunter, Ken Holtzman, and Vida Blue. All of our thoughts and our prayers are with Catfish, who we heard had an upturn today, but still a very serious situation at home after he fell, and he's suffering from ALS. He was in critical condition, but we heard the news at least a little bit better today, and that is comforting, at least in a small way. Ripped by Chipper Jones to right field. Derek Farrell's going to try and make a play on him. Not quite. Chipper in with a double. Bell came up with the ball pretty well, Ray, but Chipper moves well.
Well, this ball is just rocketed down that right field line. I'm talking smoke. Derek does a great job getting over there. Chipper swinging the bat so well. Great base runner. You know, you talk about these complete players. You look at that man right there, and there is not a more complete player in the game. Now, Brian Jordan has driven in a lot of runs.
Swinging at the first pitch again.
This is what I talked about, doubles being so critical early with nobody out. And that's why Biggio, with all those doubles, it should be an automatic run. Because when your leadoff hitter gets a hit, and it's a double, your number 2-hole hitter is paid to get him over. Your 3-hole hitter is paid to get him in, right?
Yep.
So Biggio almost automatic with all those doubles he's hit this year. Now here you got the 4-hole hitter, and do you let him drive in the run, or do you get him over? I want him to get the man over.
You do?
I do. I definitely do, because he's a great right field hitter, even though he's driven in all those runs.
Skies this. Is there room for Paul Bacco? He comes Bacco to the screen, but the ball is out of play.
And let me tell you the way some managers think. Some managers think, I want 3 shots of driving this run in. This guy's driven in 90-plus runs for me. I'm not going to make him give himself up here. I want 3 shots with the 4, 5, 6-hole hitters in my lineup and let him drive the runs in. And there's nothing wrong with that. Me, as well as Brian Jordan hits the ball to right field, I would want him to go up there thinking about driving this run in, but thinking about going to right field with the ball to drive it in. That's not taking anything away from him. I think it makes him a better hitter.
Count is 0-2. Fouls it off. 1 booth down from us. We can't get a bat up here, but we could get a ball. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man. See me ready? I jumped up there. I catch that thing.
I assume that you're going to handle this up here.
Don't you assume it. You know it.
I just take the toss at first base.
Okay.
It's in my pole.
That's it.
Lima delivers. Jordan kind of reaches out on a pitch in the strike zone, and as a result, just pops it up to Craig Biggio at second base. Nobody moves anywhere. There's 1 out. Now, remember we said that the Astros have a chance to become the first team since the 73 A's with 320-game winners. It hasn't happened in the National League since the 1923 Reds, managed by Ray Knight. Dolph Luque from Havana, Pete Donahue, and Hall of Famer, one of the great names in baseball, Eppa Rixey.
I met Eppa Rixey.
1923 Ray. Ryan Klesko. He puts an Eppa Rixey into this pitch. But a sliding play under the wall made by Carl Everett. When he slide down there to kind of pick it off the bottom.
I don't know what he did on that ball. That ball looked like, to me, with that high trajectory, that it would be catchable. That's one thing about playing in the oppositional ballpark, is learning the warning track. Watch how he gets here. The ball is there up against the wall, but he decides to slide, and the ball looks like it hits him. I don't even know if the ball hit the wall. Chris, look right here. Does this ball hit the wall, or does it hit him? It hits right there at the foot of the wall.
Yeah,
almost.
I don't get it.
Almost hits him. Tough play nonetheless, but not the right way to go after the ball. I got it. Oh,
Klesko smoked it, and now the Braves have regained the 2-run lead, 6-4. Hey, look, it's a long run. It would have been a great catch, but...
Oh, no doubt about it. It looked weird, didn't it?
It's hard to catch it with your feet. I mean, unless you're Pele, that's a tough play.
Or Mia Hamm.
Or Mia Hamm, or Christine Lilly, or the champion U.S. women's soccer team.
Klesko right here kind of slows up just a little bit right there. Looks like maybe he tweaked something. I don't know if he stepped wrong. They could ill afford to lose Klesko with, we know Andres Galarraga out. Klesko's done a great job. You asked him today before the ball games. We got to spend about 15 minutes with him. He and Chipper.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to be first base for the rest of the year, although Andrew Jones sends it to left. This is a rainmaker that's going to be caught by Darrell Ward, and the throw comes in, and Klesko stays at second base. Looks like Klesko's going to be at first base for much of the rest of the year, even though he says, that's my position, but I haven't really played there for 6 years. So I'm finally getting left field down pretty well. He's become a pretty good left fielder. And he said that I don't mind it, I just haven't been there.
He said that he had played his whole career at first base. Then he abandoned that to go play left field, and he's become so comfortable in left field that he's not real comfortable at first. And
he said, how about, right, what did he tell us? Yeah, I'm fine until, like, Barry Bonds, one of those left-handed pull hitters
when I'm holding somebody on.
And then all of a sudden, left field looks, he says, I like to being involved with every play and split second until those lefty pull hitters come up when I'm holding someone on. Then left field looks pretty good to me. We've got a little bit of everything in this game. Just an aside, and because we brought up the U.S. women, Mia Hamm and Christine Lilly and all the ladies that won the World Cup, I met the coach, Tony DiCicco, a couple of weeks ago, and congratulations to everybody involved with that effort. It was fun to watch. Tony's a Connecticut man. Weathersfield. Nice play made at third by Bill Spires, for the throw is high. And Bagwell's off the base, and runners are at the corner. So Jose Hernandez is aboard for the second time tonight on what will be, although he made it on a good play, it's got to be an E5.
Very tough, though, Chris, when you're going that hard to your left to set your feet up and throw the ball accurately. Look how he extends himself. His momentum is going so hard to left field. It's very difficult to get your right hip back toward the bag. As a result, you throw the ball, and it tends to sail inside like that. I've done it a few times myself.
I tell you what, Bagwell did a nice snow cone there because the ball gets by, the run scores. That ball almost did not get in the webbing.
That's a very difficult throw. I played a little bit of first base, too, and that throw that is into the runner, fading that way.
Yep.
The lucky thing about it, was that, oh, man.
Order up a coach. You want one scoop or two?
Two scoops.
Sprinkles?
I don't like sprinkles.
Okay. Eddie Perez, who missed the last 4 games after serving that 4-game suspension in that fight with one-time teammate, now Philly, Paul Bird. And Eddie has a little ligament problem, or cartilage problem, I should say, in his knee, but he will not have to have it operated on until the end of the year. And boy, that is fortunate news for the Braves, who have lost Javi Lopez for the season. All of a sudden, there's the Lima punch-out. It's 6-4 Braves.
Welcome.
Top of the sixth inning in a game that has been pretty darn entertaining, if we do say so ourselves. Braves 6, the Astros 4. Greg Maddux starts off with the bottom of the lineup. Paul Baco, Ricky Gutierrez, Jose Lima. Do we go Baco to the future?
How about soft shell Baco?
Soft shell Baco.
I don't know, man. You the man on
I
this.
know. I shouldn't be struggling with this because I'm stuck on the stuff that we used to, you know, you go to your favorite salad bar and you put Bacos, you know, on your salad all the time. That's no good. Baco and eggs and Baco. Hey, Ray, you'd be proud of me this morning. I had grits for breakfast.
You did. I like grits.
It's just northern cream of wheat.
It's good. Oh, it is better than cream of wheat.
I like grits. I thought you'd be proud of me that I had grits for breakfast. Baco will go Baco to the bench as Maddux punches him out, and we go Baco to Wingo. Trey?
Boomer, thanks. You're talking about eating grits. J.D. Drew showing true grit. Yesterday, the fans of the vet threw batteries at him. He throws souvenirs at them today. Solo shot number 10. Cardinals leading at 3-1. Grits are better than cream of wheat, Boom.
You know, Ray just said the same thing, Trey, that grits are better than cream of wheat. Okay, don't knock cream of wheat. There's a shot by Gutierrez to right field. And the Astros had to scrap back all night. They did lead 1-0, but now they have the base runner on with one out and the pitcher Lima up. ESPN, the magazine, cover story on Guess Who? Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. Will we have an encore of last year's home run chase? And a unique look at the first 3,000 hits for both Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs. So ESPN, the magazine, on newsstand now. Boy, McGuire's 500th home run. I mean, what a... Mike Remlinger from Dartmouth University, an Ivy Leaguer, along with Russ Springer up in the Astro bullpen. And that will be it for Jose Lima. So he will not win his 16th game. Lima cannot win it. So that leaves Mike Hampton as the only 16-game winner in the National League, as Pedro Martinez in the American League. Well, I guess he could win it. Huh? If the Astros have a big inning, of course he could.
Oh, yeah, he's still kicking
well,
his record until he gets 3 outs.
My bad. Still thinking about those grits. Great. This is Russ Johnson, who has done a good job at third base. He had a hot bat. Started 7, 8, 9 games in a row here.
Well, one thing that the Astros are weak, if they have a problem or a shortage or a weakness, really, is left-handed bats. They're way too much right-handed for me if I'm making up the roster on this ball club.
There's a nice job of hitting and running. Gutierrez moving on the pitch, which meant Boone had to go over to cover, which meant there's the hole, which meant runners on the corners, and a nice job of pinch hitting and, of course, running by Gutierrez. Job at the bat by Johnson.
It goes to that man right there, Larry Dierker. Knowing what he has, putting Russ Johnson in there, starting the runner at first base, hit and run all the way. Russ Johnson, a right-handed hitter. I was just getting into the left-handed lack of left-handed hitting that the Astros have. Dierker pulls the trigger, pinch hits. Now you're going to see a change as Bobby Cox heads to the mound.
Usually Leo would go, right? Right, Ray? There was not a move?
If Bobby
there
goes
is
out
a
there,
move.
you can...
So how about this, Ray? We're in the 6th inning. The Maddux and Lima are gone. It's a game for everybody. Maddux departs to the 6th.
Which stop?
Back in Atlanta, we've seen the 4th shortest outing this year of Greg Maddux. He's gone after giving up 4 runs, 11 hits in 5 1/3, and of course is responsible for the runners at the corners. Gutierrez, the runner at third. Russ Johnson, the runner at first. Russ Springer was been one of the unsung strong performers out of the bullpen as of late, has come on to face the dangerous Craig Biggio. Springer has not allowed a run in his last 7 outings. A long way to Andrew Jones in right center field. Sac fly Biggio. Gutierrez scores, and we're at a 1-run game again, 6-5. Last 7 games, Ray, for Springer. 8 1/3 innings pitched. No runs allowed, but Biggio really tattooed. There was no doubt about that sac fly.
Well, Bobby Cox is trying to get Springer to induce the ground ball. There he is, a single ball pitcher, a couple of curveballs, but again, gets the fastball up, drives the ball out there about 375 feet. Andrew Jones positions himself well to keep the runner at first base, a tying run. But watch how Gerald Williams comes into the screen there. That's the left fielder now. That's what I'm talking about, a guy that has gotten a chance to play leading off. Braves have had a problem with getting runners in scoring position. Getting runners on base. He's now leading off and hustling, getting in there to back that play up. I love little things like that.
Bill Spires, 0 for 2, has walked and scored twice. So you know my nickname? I said, what? WTP. What do you mean? Warning track tower. He was the one that was robbed by that leaping catch by Andrew Jones on Monday night. That was home run power there. Needed warning track tower. Fouled off 0-2. Looks like Brian Williams will be the Astro pitcher to come in. Not throwing now, but he was warmed and armed and ready. Lathered up. We're going to get to the bottom of the 6th, and either Maddux or Lima will be around. The guys going in. 28-12 going into tonight, right?
And guys that have gone deep in the ball games. You know that Maddux, over the course of his career, has averaged almost 8 innings per start, a little over 7 2/3 innings per start over his entire career.
To left field to Gerald Williams, and Spires is gone. But the Astros have crept within 1 again. It's a 6-5 game. Back in Atlanta, Chris Berman along with Ray Knight and our Wednesday night baseball crew. The Braves lead the Astros 6-5 at the bottom of the 6th. We give way with the 2 teams with the best record in the National League. Even the best record in the American League, the New York Yankees at the surprising Oakland A's. Bob Carpenter, Dave Campbell, Carpy and Soup on the call at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. The Oakland A's, one of the best stories in baseball. $22 million payroll and wild card contender. Right in there with the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. Less of a heated race in the American League than the National League, but El Duque goes for the Yanks tonight, who lost yesterday to Oakland. Oakland with the best record in the majors at home. We saw them opening night. Had a feel that they'd have at least a nice season, a fun season. It's turned into more than that. Meanwhile, Brian Williams, 35 Ks in 44 2/3 innings, come on in relief of Jose Lima, and he'll face the pinch hitter, Ozzie Guillen.
And that's another thing that you see with Jose Lima. Team player, stays out there, and I like starting pitchers that do that. You know, it's gotten so in Major League Baseball, a lot of times a guy that's taken out of the ball game goes right into the clubhouse showers, watches the rest of the game from his locker stall or from the lounge. Players that are pinch hit for go right up and shower. In the old days, they came right back, stayed on the bench, watched every minute of the ball game, and that's what Jose Lima does. I mean, he loves the game, and, you know, of all the guys in this game, he's a guy that I'd pay to watch because he plays with great emotion, and even though he pitched a very mediocre ball game tonight, he's out here still cheering for his team to win.
Hey, how about Ray? Maddox and Lehman now finished. 11 runs and 20 hits surrendered by these two who may each win 20 games this year. A shot handled by Spires, who was in. That came to him in a hurry. But Ozzy's gone, 1 out. Talking about guys who love the game. How about Ozzy? Had his son with him before the game. Son's bigger dad already.
Brian Williams, the pitcher for the Astros, actually started in the Astro organization, went to the Padres, then to Detroit, then to Baltimore, and then last year all the way over to Japan, pitched the whole year in Japan. And the reports that we have is that he's a much better pitcher. He was a thrower, mostly in his career, tried as a starter, as really a short reliever, middle reliever, throws the ball in the low to mid-90s, hard breaking ball. You see 86-mile-an-hour slider. That's getting it up there pretty good. But he was always a guy that never pitched up to his potential or pitched up to his stuff because he threw a lot of pitches and didn't throw a lot of strikes. That's flying everywhere.
Well, that's his bat again. Yeah. I mean, you know what? Maybe he just ought to leave that in there. Remember, he went and got the bat back.
Let me tell you that story again.
Yeah, tell me about the dozen bats that you get.
He needs to hold on to that thing. I know that. You know, I remember Dale Murphy used to throw that bat about once or twice a game. And what happens, they get that top hand kind of rolling over that left hand, and you feel a little bit of pinch there, and they just let the bat go spontaneously. But that's twice we've seen Gerald do that. He might, yeah, I think he's taking that bat back.
What? But, you know, if he doesn't get a hit the next couple of times up, that hitting streak will be gone, and then he can throw the bat. Try another one. No good in it.
I think he's just maybe embarrassed. He certainly wants to hit with that thing. I mean, you don't want to give a bat up. I was trying to say earlier, and got all mixed up in that. When you get a bat that feels good, it's so seldom that you can get a bat that feels the exact same to you. The handles come a little thicker, the barrels are a little different, the balance is different.
That'll be out of play.
And you can weigh bats when you get them on. We used to have this letter weigh or mail weigher at the ballpark, and you put the bats on there, and say you ordered a 33-ounce bat, you may have one bat that was 33 ounces.
Get out.
I'm telling you.
Spires. Two plays Billy has made in on the grass.
What I'm saying is a bat will weigh 32 and a half ounces, 32 and 3/4 ounces, 33 and a quarter. And believe it or not, I remember Stan Musial used to talk about he could tell the difference in a half of an ounce. Ted Williams said the same thing.
Well, that's what.
And when I picked up a bat,
two of the best hitters ever.
Right, I certainly wasn't one of the best pitchers ever, but I could tell the difference in the way the bat fell as far as balance and weight. And when you get a bat that feels good on it, you just do not want to part with it.
The Rays. Malibu Marty Aronoff. Up in the booth with us, as always. And there's a sliding catch made by Darrell Ward. Well, I'm going to have to hold this unbelievable piece of information for the next half inning. A 1-2-3 inning for Brian Williams. 6-5 Rays. Our Goodyear key plays of the game. Packed 3 home runs in the second inning for the Atlanta Braves. The leadoff man, Jose Hernandez, and then Fred Boone and Chipper Jones back-to-back. All 15-game winner, Jose Lima. But then, back come the Astros, because in the third inning, a 2-run shot for Jeff Bagwell. His 36th. Right now, long ball, not pitching, carried the day, at least early, Both starters are gone. Greg Maddux and Jose Lima are gone. And the Braves lead the Astros 6-5, trying to complete a 3-game sweep in the final meeting in the regular season of these teams this year. Will they meet deep into October? Mike Remlinger is the third Atlanta pitcher. Lefty who has done a very good job. Pitched in the Ivy League, Dartmouth. 56 strikeouts and 55 2/3. Came over from the Cincinnati Reds. And, oh, look at Bags swinging at the first pitch, but it's ranked to.
He didn't want to spend much time in the batter's box tonight. 4 pitches, 4 swings, a sac fly, a home run, a single, and a fly ball to center field. He hasn't spent long in that batter's box.
No, he is not.
Mike Remlinger actually pitched for me a little bit in Cincinnati in '96. Called him up from Indianapolis, and 97 started with the Reds. 98 started 28 games. Fastball, big curveball. Didn't have really an off-speed pitch.
He knows what he's doing at this point. Smart young man, an Ivy Leaguer. Pitch came up with San Francisco in their system. Remember him with the baby? Roger Craig had it. Bounced around a little bit in that system. And you said with the Reds.
Well, we acquired him. Donnie Gullett saw him pitch with the Mets one Sunday afternoon in a mop-up role, and he showed such a great breaking ball that Gullett, in our next meeting that we had, suggested that we acquire him. And that winter, Jim Bowden went out and acquired him, and he did a great job for us in the bullpen, and then started actually 28 games last year for the ball club and did a good job. Always has had the great fastball, and one of those guys that does have trouble throwing strikes.
You know what? Have you enjoyed your night at the ballpark tonight, Ray?
I have immensely.
I have. It's been fun.
I have immensely.
You have the feeling that, and no disrespect meant to Mets or Reds, I'm not asking for a prediction, that this is the Astros' time to move forward, or this is the Braves' different sort of team, pressed all 6 months for a change. Maybe this is the year, you know, for all of their wins and all their success. You got one World Series ring to show for it. Do you think that one of these teams could be their season? Of course, it's very possible.
I think the Braves have scuffled all year long. They're not, after you lose Galarraga and Smoltz has struggled with his elbow.
Lopez out.
And Lopez out. That's a lot of talent to lose, but yet they've been able to maintain because they have still that great starting four. And any time you can pitch and they play solid defense, and they do have so much talent. Plus the fact they believe they're going to win. They believe they're going to win. They're so used to winning, they believe they're going to win. The Astros know now that they have talent. They've proven that they can win their division. They don't know that they can beat the Braves. The Braves have always beaten the Astros, and the Astros are going to have to make that jump. But it doesn't have to happen now. Real quick story, in '79, we beat the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Cincinnati Reds beat the Pittsburgh Pirates in that season 11 out of 12 games in the course of the season, and then they swept us in the playoffs. We won our division, they won their division, and then they swept us in the playoffs. So we didn't think they could beat us. They decided they could, and they got good pitching in the playoffs and shut us down.
The way these two teams have played, the way Arizona is now playing in the National League West, well, Arizona now with a 7.5-game lead over the Giants are really sputtering. That's a tough plane ride home tonight for the Giants after blowing another 4-run lead in Florida. Blew a 4-run lead in all 3 of those games. Arizona now up by 7.5. Reds, Mets, and in the National League, there's going to be some interesting things down the stretch. Because one of those good teams is not going to make it. Not room for everybody. We'll see if the Astros take the step, and we'll see if the Braves. A little different feel in the clubhouse for the Braves, Ray. We talked to some of the players. They say that maybe we've grown together a little bit this year because we've had to. Meanwhile, whoa, Eddie Perez frisbees that ball in the center field. Everett not only steals a base, he ends up at third. Perez gunned down Everett earlier in the game in the first inning on a pitch out, but not that time. Stolen base number 22 for Carl Everett. And an error to the catcher, Eddie Perez.
The left-handed pitcher, he gets a terrible jump. This is a delayed steal, ladies and gentlemen. That's where you take one crow hop or two crow hops, and then you break and you try to catch the infielders moving, and that's exactly what Everett did. He did not go on the first move. He waited till the ball was delivered and took a crow hop. The infielders generally drop their head as the ball goes by the hitter, and he steals second base because the second baseman was late getting there.
And now Derek Bell has walked. Runners at the corners. The complexion of the game has changed. What's happening, Trey Wingo?
Well, Boom, the other game Atlanta fans very interested in, the New York Mets taking on the Padres. Sterling Hitchcock cruising with a 2-0 lead until Fonzie, very cool. Edgardo Alfonso is 17th, tying a career high. Tied at 2. Ray and Chris, back to you.
Bottom of the first in New York. Long rain delay there, huh? At Chase Stadium. We can use the rain northeast.
Look here at the delayed steal with Carl Everett. The pitcher's already gone. He took a little crow hop, and what happens there, the second baseman breaks late, barely gets there, and the catcher has to hit a running target. He also gets the ball caught in his glove, double pumps a little bit, but Brett wasn't there. You don't see that very often. He's generally taught to runners like myself that didn't run well. The Reds executed it a lot, where you're actually stealing the base on the middle infielders, and it worked.
Well, Coxey's made a move. Remlinger out. We'll either get McGlinchey or Mulholland.
Agosto en ESPN 2 presenta en vivo los playoffs de la Liga Mexicana de Béisbol. Acción de las grandes ligas. El comienzo de la temporada del fútbol americano colegial. La Serie Mundial del Béisbol Infantil. La lucha libre. Y lo último en noticias de la NFL. Todo en agosto por ESPN 2.
Top of the seventh, and the speed and the complexion has changed. Bobby Cox has made a move to his bullpen again. We've now seen 4 Atlanta pitchers. Maddox is gone. And this is the youngster, 22-year-old Kevin McGlinchey, hard thrower from Malden, Massachusetts. Time made 13 straight scoreless appearances from early April to early May. He's done a pretty good job. And you can see with the strikeouts and innings pitch rate, 51 and 55, that he obviously throws gas, but a lot of walks, too, so beware.
Yeah, he can really get it up there. 93 to 96 miles an hour. Our scouting report on him. He fools around with a split finger a little bit. He's got a little nickel breaking ball, but he's just all power.
He's going to face a pinch hitter, Matt Miesky. And look at this. Everett was down the line, and now he's going to get tagged out by Eddie Perez, and Bell moves into second base. Who missed what sign? Scherzer was incensed. On Monday night, he thought some of his veterans missed signs. Was that the case?
Well, obviously there is a squeeze play because it's a mouth sign from the third base coach. It's a vocal sign. You go up and you use some type of key like, it's really nice out tonight. Obviously a squeeze. It's not a straight steal. There you get Everett caught in a rundown. It was not a pitch that he could get the bat on. The ball way up high in the strike zone. Maybe Bobby Cox smelt that. But watch this. He's not attempting to square there in the squeeze. He's swinging all the way. So Miesky obviously missed the squeeze sign by the reaction there because Everett gets a word sign. Like when I was coaching third base, you'd always say get a walking lead, and then what the squeeze sign would be is don't get doubled off on a line drive. And you'd hear that line drive knowing that it was a squeeze play. Generally, there's an answer to that. When there's a squeeze play on by the third base coach, the hitter does something to lock it in. I don't know if the Astros have an answer, but they obviously something went awry there.
Does he need to get the bat on the ball to just foul it off? Obviously,
If it's a squeeze, if it's a squeeze play, you ball, you have to. You square around with the squeeze. You're not trying to trick anybody. The third base gets enough off the bag, and he starts running on the first move. And the big thing you don't want to do there is get picked off at third, and the hitter squares and puts the ball in play. It wasn't a safety squeeze because the runner at third base dictates whether or not you're going to be safe or not. All you have to do there is get the ball on the ground.
Next question. You like the very first new pitcher, young, hard and wild. You like Durker calling for a squeeze on the very first play?
I don't like the squeeze play anytime when a guy has a tough time throwing strikes. I don't. I like the squeeze play when you know a guy is very much around the plate. McClitchy's a high ball pitcher. Very tough to bunt that ball on the ground. I'm not going to second guess anything Larry Durker does. I mean, he's done a great job. It is very difficult to get that high fastball on the ground. It's difficult to squeeze on bad balls.
Minsky down the right field line. A long run for Brian Jordan, but he makes the play at the line. So McGlinchey comes in a little help of an Astro Minshew, gets out of their seventh inning stretch time here in Atlanta.
Carl Everett talking to third base coach Mike Covage. I didn't think that Larry Durk would put a squeeze on there, and I believe that it was a misread by Carl Everett. I don't know what their squeeze play is. Generally, not generally, on every ball club I've ever been on, it was not a direct via touches. It was always a verbal command from the third base coach. Obviously, Everett missed it as Covage talked to Everett as opposed to Minsky. He would have gone to Minsky and talked to Minsky if Minsky would have missed the sign. As Minsky walked by Covage, he said something to Covage. Covage shook his head and went straight to Everett. Now Durker and Covage talking.
Well, I'd say, let me elaborate a little bit. I mentioned it right away. As we play the home half of the seventh inning, Brian Williams, pitching his second inning, will face the heart of the Braves order. Chipper Jones, Brian Jones, and Ryan Custer. Brian Jordan. The Monday night, Larry Durker was quite vociferous about, he thought his team missed a couple of hit-and-run signs. He goes, it's almost easier to put hit-and-run signs and all sorts of signs on for rookies and young players than it is for veterans. He wasn't really lashing at him, but he said that they kind of anticipate and know our moves and the way we go here. And he called a much more complex game than he would normally call on Monday night. And he implied that just the guys may have not really missed him, but just anticipated wrong and then didn't look. And so it's come back to bite his team again as Chipper assists and some nice pitching by Williams.
It will drive you crazy, Chris. Bogart says, look, our signs are harder. I've seen Little League signs that are better than our signs. You know, I heard that when I managed. You cannot be so simple that you just touch your nose and say steal, or touch your belt and say bunt, or touch your shirt and say hit and run. You've got to have some type of indicator, or that team over there will steal it from you. They have players that look at you, coaches that look at you, that watch. I've even seen them put cameras on third base coaches, draw a stick man and write numbers down and figure out signs. So you have to have a sign, an indicator, a hot spot. And it is amazing how often big league players miss signs. I had a terrible time with it in Cincinnati. I made my sign so simple that if you touched anything that started with H, such as a hat, it was a hit and run. If you touched something like a belt, it was a bunt. If you touched S, shirt, it was a steal. I had to do that because my guys would not get the sign. And it goes back to them thinking that they know more than you do. And it's tough sometimes. And you know, it's frustrating to a manager or a coach. It's not that tough to get signed.
Greg, you ready?
Hey!
Oh, we missed it by about 4 feet.
I don't have.
You were not ready either.
I wasn't ready. I was still thinking about it.
You're unbelievable. Yeah, you were trying H hat. See, catch. By the way, Matt Minsky stayed in the game, obviously, for Darrell Ward. He pinch hit for him, and he is in left field. Well, Jordan draws the walk. Brian's been aboard 3 out of 4 times. The one-time Atlanta Falcons strong safety who's come home to roost. The city in which he played football, and I might add quite well, was a Pro Bowl alternate back in '91 playing for Jerry Glanville. So obviously, you know, he's one tough customer. Here's Ryan Klesko. Was 5 hits in this 3-game series. Ryan with a double down the right field line his last time up. Goes the opposite way, couldn't get around, and a long run for Minsky. And he skis his way in, and he makes catch. Wow. been a lot of little loopers to left field that the Astros have had to run on. Meeksky may have jammed his wrist. Look at it, Ray. Nice catch.
Really nice catch. Ball hit off the end of the bat, and that's the toughest play for an outfielder when you've got a guy as big as Klesko taking that big a swing, not to hold your position before you see the ball. Your first move generally is back when a guy with that kind of power swings the bat. You hit it off the bat, and the ball just does not carry at all.
So 2 down, and Andrew Jones is now, what, 2 for his last 31? Andrew is 0 for 3 tonight. Including that kind of swinging bunt that Lehman made the circus play on almost in the dirt at second base. That was an oddball play. That was interesting. Gutierrez, Fabrizio for the fourth, and we're gone. 6-5 Braves heading to the 8th. It has been an entertaining night here at the home of the Braves. Turner Field, Atlanta trying for the sweep of the Astros. They lead at 6-5, and the veteran left-hander, good guy, Terry Mulholland, who came over from the Cubs more than a week ago, and a couple weeks ago in that trade that also brought the shortstop, Jose Hernandez. And I spoke with Terry beforehand. He'll spot start if necessary, depending on injuries or how Smoltz does, etc. And he can pitch long relief. He can come in and be a left-hand specialist. And he understands his role, whatever role you put him in, Ray.
He does. He's such a great player to have on a baseball club. Last year, I'll never forget what he did with the Cubbies. After coming out of the bullpen all year long, starting a ball game for them at a crucial time, winning that ball game.
And he will pitch to Glenn Barker, the pinch hitter for Baco, which as an aside, I'm just going to follow me. Barker plays the outfield. If we put him in center, we got Lance Berkman, who was up for a while and left, Derek Bell in right. All right, follow me.
I'm right with you.
Baco behind the plate.
I'm with you.
Bagwell at first. We got Biggio at second.
I got.
We got Billy Spires at third. I got it. And we got, when he's healthy, Sean Bergman on the mound. Except for shortstop. Oh, and Tim Bogar at short. If you give me Billy Spires,
I'll give you Billy Spires.
you get to the B part of the media guide, you're done doing your homework with this team. This is, it's the magic letter in Houston, B. Not only Bagwell and Biggio, we've gone all around the diamond. The B's have it. Just, does that show that I have too much time on my hands, or no? Because you know that's not true.
No, I know that is not true.
At any rate, Barker, the youngster, with a right field, and Brian Jordan could have a feel that he was not getting around the lefty, so he moved it over. Well, no,
he could go on that too.
A bloop by Barker that's caught by Brian Jordan. Our head and shoulders in-game box score, and boy, we began with a lot of fireworks. First, the RBIs of the game for Jeff Bagwell, 2 of them coming on his 36th home run. He now has 100 RBIs. 3 of the 5 Astro runs driven in on sac flies tonight, which isn't the most exciting, but they've been smart. They've been doubles and moved to third and sac flies. So they're trying to scrap back. After the Braves won the first 2 games of this series late.
Well, one of the fortes of the Astros is situational hitting. You see the sac flies, that is situational hitting, where you get a good ball to hit and drive to the outfield. Russ Johnson to hit and run, single to right field to set up that first third situation that turned us to some type of base running debacle. But the Astros, as you have said, we saw Tim Bogar there a minute ago. He missed a steal sign with 2 outs, and the hitter, being the pitcher, gave him the must steal. He didn't attempt to steal, therefore they never pinch hit for the pitcher.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't go anywhere. Here comes... Hey. Wow. Perez with the throw to second base, and that goes into center field. This is on a walk, folks. Ricky Gutierrez walked. Now, Perez doesn't go running after the baseball.
I'm sitting here watching it, and it just took a big turn. But watch here. This is a ball 4 inside. Perez turns. He thinks the ball may be in his thing. He doesn't realize it's ball 4.
Yeah, that's
right. What
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize it's ball 4 because he's reaching back for another baseball. That's what happened.
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
A walk, a pass ball, and here is Tim Bogar coming to the plate.
Man, that's weird.
That walk, pass ball.
Did you see Eddie Perez reach back for another ball?
Can't help you on this one, partner.
There's Hernandez. 4. That was 4. That was 4.
I can't hand you a ball on ball 4. So the tying run is at second base. On a bizarre ball 4. Now this is again the ball to right field. Brian Jordan. And look at this throw to third base. Yowza. That's going to be better than our throw to Trey Wingo, isn't it now, Ray?
It was indeed, Chris. Don't forget about the Cincinnati Reds. Still looking for that NL wild card. Tied at 3 with the Pirates in the ninth. Dimitri Young ropes this one into the right field corner. On the play, Aaron Boone will score. Reds are up 4-3. They do have the best road record in the majors, Chris.
Well, if they win it and the Astros lose it, we're in a flat-footed tie in the NL Central. Bobby Cox out to the mound. Now, Mulholland's done a pretty good job. I know the walk there, but none of these hitters have gotten around on him. He's keeping it outside. They're moving it to right. Look at Jordan's gun here.
What Bobby Cox is probably discussing is whether or not to walk Biggio to pitch to Spires. And he's just getting Mulholland's feel about that. You know, with first base open, even though that would be the go-ahead run, he just wants to talk to Terry, letting him know that, hey, you've got 2 hitters here to get 1 out. If you want to go at Biggio, try to make a pitch, and then if you don't make that pitch, put him on base. What I would do here is just walk him. I'd walk him and then go straight to the left-hander.
Biggio is 2 for 3 with a sac fly and a run scored. His 48th double in the first inning, but he's come right in, Ray, and gone a strike.
Biggio 12 for 47 lifetime against Mulholland.
That's about 250.
Right.
So certainly that's pretty good success for Mulholland. Against the hitter with a much higher lifetime average.
Spires 0 for 6.
But he's 0-2 now.
Right.
On Biggio. The closer, who has gotten a save in the first 2 games of this series, John Rocker, is up rocking again. Isn't it fitting that Leo Mazzoni's closer now, his name is John Rocker? By the way, Leo rocks on the bench all the time. It just is fitting. Rockin' Leo has John Rocker.
There he is.
Rockin' Leo and John Rocker. We're not there yet.
Another thing, Chris, real quickly, is that you've got nothing but right-handed hitters after Spires. You've got Rocker loose, a left-hander.
Well, Mulholland to get Biggio, one of the most dangerous hitters in the National League. And the tying run is stranded at second base. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning in Atlanta. 6-5 Braves. Chris Berman, Ray Knight, with you in Atlanta. Hope you've enjoyed this one. It has been intriguing. Not the script that you write before the game when Greg Maddux was against Jose Lima, but nevertheless fun. Braves lead at 6-5 here at the bottom of the 8th, and Astros off tomorrow. They haven't had a lead late in either of these 2 games, so why not bring in your all-star closer who has been just that, an all-star. Billy Wagner, he of the 27 saves, Larry Dierker just wants him to keep things within one run and give Bagwell and company a chance in the ninth, Greg.
Yeah, well, he knows right now he has to keep this ball game in reach, and Billy Wagner hasn't pitched in 3 days. And you get still out there, you lose your rhythm, and you have to, one thing about being a closer, you have to get consistent work.
Randy Knorr is in the catch now, so we've seen most everyone on the Astros tonight. Talk about bringing it, Ray. Did you see those numbers for Wagner? 85 strikeouts in 50 in the third inning.
I've been in that oppositional dugout when all my hitters got was air, man. I mean,
well, he wasn't as good then as he is now.
Right, he's always thrown. He threw as hard then as he did now.
Well, let me give you a couple of numbers. All right, go back to college for a minute as he faces Jose Hernandez, Eddie Perez, and the pitcher's spot. Obviously a pitcher. Billy Wagner, who, you know, the first thing you start out at, this is not Goose Gossage in size out there. 5'11", 180 from Tannersville, Virginia. Went to little Division III Ferrum College in Virginia. But was a first-round pick out of Ferrum College. Well, why would he be that? Well, in 1992, Ray, per 9 innings, an NCAA record 19 strikeouts per 9 innings, including 327 strikeouts and 182 in the third inning.
That is why right there. Look how strong his thighs are, how strong he is around the torso there. Very strong lower body. He may be really short of stature, but power pitchers get their strength from their legs. And look at those quads there, how strong his legs are. Here's his motion. Look at that back leg. Look how that quad just explodes right there as he pushes off, getting that weight and everything loaded up there. You know, the hardest throwers that I've seen were Seaver and Nolan Ryan, and both of those guys had not big butts, but strong butts, strong thighs, unbelievably upper leg strength.
No, that's a sign for a butt. If you're talking
bunt, right, bunt.
No, you're right. I mean, that ball explodes. Of course, here's the bad news. There's a leadoff walk to Jose Hernandez. Our Head and Shoulders in-game box score for the Braves. And they hit the 3 home runs in the second inning. The third time they've hit 3 homers in 1 inning. And Brett Boone and Chipper went back-to-back, but that was after Jose Hernandez led off the second inning with a home run. Ryan Jordan has had a couple of hits tonight. RBI. Braves looking for the 3-game sweep. Both clubs off tomorrow, as Atlanta will move to play Pittsburgh.
Bobby Cox.
I'm sorry. Atlanta will. I'm sorry, Ray. Atlanta's moving on to L.A. and Pittsburgh comes in as easy.
Bobby Cox directing the bunt there. Very difficult to bunt Billy Wagner with that fastball that he throws up in the strike zone. Tend to pop that ball up. You know, the Astros, Chris, you mentioned just a moment ago, the Astros using a lot of players. With Richard Heldrago at home, only one non-pitcher left in that dugout. Carlos Hernandez, a catcher. Excuse me, infielder, not the catcher for the Dodgers. Carlos Hernandez, an infielder. Fernandez, Gonzalez.
And if the H is a hat, that's a hit, right? Perez fouls back. You know what's interesting about the Braves, and we've talked about it. They're being pressed big time by the New York Mets. Just to put it into perspective, the Braves this year, and that's the bottom, this month in August and September, it's obviously August, 6 days out of first, 4 days in first. From 95 to 98, in August and September, they were in first place every day. All the way back to 94, the striker, when the Expos led them, you have to find the last time before this past week that the Braves were not in first place this late in the season. Nice play by Spires, who's had a pretty nice... I know he made the one error, but he's played a pretty strong game at third base. So I'm going to elaborate on that in a minute as Perez has gone to the runner at second.
Well, the key to this play is, as you see Spires, there is coming, getting the ball on the short hop. If you let that ball bounce, it can go anywhere. So he comes and gets it right at the beginning of the hop, makes the play. Look right here as he comes and gets that ball just at the start of the short hop and makes it a lot easier play. What that does is allow him to get the ball about 2 or 3 steps quicker as a runner goes to first base.
Brian Hunter is the pinch hitter. And let me elaborate that on a bit more, Ray. In 93, of course, the Braves caught the Giants. In 94, which was the strike, we'll never know. There were only 11 days in August that we had a strike. Montreal was in first. 95, 96, 97, 98. Every day from August 1st on, the Braves were in first and usually way ahead. So the question is, are you more tired after 6 months, if indeed you win the division and get to the playoffs or become a wild card? As Hunter skies it, nor the catcher loses the match, makes the catch. The players we talked to figured that, you know, a lot of times in the postseason, although they've almost always won their first postseason round, to their credit, they get into a lot of crunch games and they haven't had that much experience in it. Maybe this year it's a blessing in disguise if it turns out that they win the division and move on. You follow it?
I do follow you, and there's two thoughts there as a manager when you're trying to get your ball club into the playoffs. If you have a huge lead, you can rest anybody that has a problem, like you saw John Smoltz there. If these Braves were not battling for the pennant, John Smoltz would not be pitching every 5th day. His elbow is that tender. When you are battling for a pennant, every game is important. You have to go and throw all your horses out there. There's no time for rest. And as a result of that, you know, everybody's injured a little bit. You don't give them any extra time.
Right.
Whereas when you have that 10, 12 game lead, you can take it easy, let guys rest, let them use your extra men, give them a lot of at-bats, use your guys in your pitching staff, keep them sharp in the bullpen. So I think it's an advantage, really, to have a 10 or 12 game lead and keep everybody healthy and be very strong come time for the playoffs.
Well, they're not going to have one with the Mets, I can tell you that. So this is a different way for them, and we'll see, though, if it does pay off. Gerald Williams, 0-2, and if he doesn't get on, his 13-game hitting streak goes by the boards. But thus far, we've seen in this at-bat something we haven't seen for a while. The bat stayed in his hand.
He hasn't swung it yet.
Yeah, no. Foul one off. So we'll see. It's just interesting that the Braves, I mean, my goodness, it comes to August, they're automatic.
Yeah, what it does show you that with the injuries that they've come back and these other clubs have improved, because they've always been the best record in the National League by about 10 games. And now there's 4 clubs right there stacked with them with almost exact same records. Within one game, 4 teams.
But as far as the records go, Larry Gertner pointed out, San Diego didn't have the advantage in either of the series last year against Houston or Atlanta, and they won. So when you get in, I don't know that the home field is as much in baseball as certainly.
Oh, I definitely don't
we
think
know that.
so.
It's not like playing at Lambeau Field in January. I'm just talking about you're pressed for 6 months or you ease into it. We'll see. Who knows? It's just good chatter. There goes the base runner with an uncontested stolen base. Jose Hernandez.
Well, you know, you think that that's a bad play because all you people are home because there's 2 outs. But what that does, it creates a hole at third base because generally the third baseman will vacate there to cover the bag, and any ground ball through that area is a base hit. Now you can score on any pass ball.
There's a ride to left center field over the head of Meach. You can score on anything there. Gerald Williams goes to his final strike. The hitting streak extended, and more importantly, the lead extended. Insurance run is back. 7-5 Atlanta.
Matt Mieske playing left field. This ball is really crushed, but Mieske actually goes toward left center and takes a funny angle at this ball. Look at him taking the angle, then going back. You need to take the angle back first and then cut over to the ball. He just took a little funny angle of that ball, and as a result, did not get to it. I don't know that he could have caught it, but when you're scouting, you look for outfielders' angles. The way that they take angles to balls. Very crucial.
Well, if you're wondering why the Braves are on the verge of a sweep, look at the three-game series, Ray, in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. And the Braves have now outscored the Astros 7-1.
Well, they believe they can win. They've won so often. The Braves believe they can win. And you know, everybody on their staff believes they can win. And you look here at the runners. Billy Wagner not worried about anybody on second base. He's trying to get the hitter. But it's a smart baseball. I don't believe that you just don't take third base with 2 outs if they give it to you. As long as it doesn't bother the hitter. You got a 2-0 count. You don't want it to bother the hitter. As long as the hitter's okay with it, I think it's a great deal. If they just abandon you at second base. I've seen too many ground balls go right at the third baseman. Had a runner been going, it's an easy run.
Let me give you another thought on the Braves tonight. Pitch, and there goes the runner again to third base. Nor the throw. So we shall say for Randy Nor, he threw out neither Jose Hernandez nor Gerald Williams.
And he's not going to if Billy Wagner doesn't pay any attention. Look at the shortstop. The shortstop is in the hole. He's not even a factor. You can almost steal third base standing up, which should be your thought if you're going to run with 2 outs.
Fouled off. Here's my other thought on the Braves tonight. We gave you the 7-1 in the last 3 innings. 4 of their 7 runs, Ray, with 2 outs.
Oh, man, that's a great stat.
Those 2 homers, the last 2 homers came with 2 out in the second inning, and then this hit by Williams.
Well, 2-out runs score are huge because most of the time a guy out there on the mound gets 2 quick outs. He'll walk somebody and somebody hits a blast, and it's because you get those 2 outs in a hurry and you lose your concentration. 2-out base hits are the key, I think, to winning ball club.
Wagner now loses Booth. Fred is doubled, homered, and now walked. And that'll bring up Chipper Jones, who is homered and doubled in 4 plate appearances. Chipper batting from the right side, in which he has less power. Although his home run totals are a little closer now. I mean, 9 righty, 20 lefty. It is 20, but it used to be even more so.
Well, Chipper doesn't get to face, not very many right-handed hitters get to face, well, let me state this. When you're a switch hitter, you don't get nearly as many at-bats against right-handers, against left-handers.
Well, he's got one of the fastest ones here, and he tried to time it, fouls it back.
And it bothers Chipper. When I played with Eddie Murray, it didn't make any difference to him. He hit right or left-handed, Chet Simmons right or left-handed, Reggie Smith right or left-handed, and they were very close to the same. But you can tell Chipper is just not as comfortable from the right side, and I know it's probably because he does not face very many left-handed pitchers.
But the Braves can push another run across. Well, the pitch is high. They didn't even have to push it across. With Billy Wagner in a 9-save situation, runners moving all around. Well, one just was fired, and maybe it missed the cross-up of the signal. I'm not sure.
Well, the thing, whether it's a cross-up of the signal or not, yeah, it did.
Oh, God, yeah.
But the fact is, the Braves steal third base, and this is what I'm saying. That ball backed up there. That ball was actually a slider going into him, and he thought it was a fastball as he started to raise up out of his squat. But that shows you the importance of stealing third with 2 outs. Now, again, all you youngsters at home, don't start running and stealing third with 2 outs because your coaches will take a hammer to your head. But I'm telling you, you do it when they give it to you because things like that happen. Pass balls, it puts a lot more pressure on the catcher. Sometimes it takes a pitcher's best pitch away.
Two runs home, Boone at second, and Chipper fouls that back. A reminder that Bob Carpenter, Dave Campbell, Carpy and Soup ready to bring us the Yankees at the A's. Duque going for the Yankees tonight. The rubber game of that three-game set. Gil Heredia, who pitched on opening night, won on opening night against the Yankees. Game we did, we'll go for open. John Rocker ready to roll, so to speak. That'll be out of play.
You see Chipper just not as comfortable right-handed. Dead fastball hitter, loves the fastball left-handed. And there's no question that Wagner is the hardest throwing left-hander in this league. But Chipper just a little tardy. This is about the fourth fastball, and you see there his back barrel laying off a little bit. Not quite as quick from the right side as he is from the left side.
Punched out, but not until the Braves hang a two-spot here in a strange eighth inning. The Astros are going to have to come up with three if they want to get a shot.
Trey Wingo with you in the Baseball Tonight studios. No matter what happens to the Astros tonight, they will still be in first place because the Pirates come back in the bottom of the ninth, down 4-3 with one out. Brian Giles a double. Abraham Nunez scores. Here comes Al Martin, and that is your game winner. Al Martin and the Pirates utterly ecstatic as the Reds fall 5-4. So that means the Astros are still in first place regardless of their loss. So what about the Padres and the Mets, you say? Well, right now after that long rain delay, it's in the bottom of the fourth inning. Tony Gwynn has an RBI. Edgardo Alfonso a two-run homer, 2-2 in the fourth. And the Cards and the Phillies. J.D. Drew has left the vet a home run, his 10th. Cards lead it 5-1. Chris and Ray, back to you in Atlanta.
All right, Trey, thank you. A tray of scores. And moments ago, I think we're going to schedule a match race between Craig Death Lefferts, Wendell Kim, and this man, John Heavy Metal Rocker. And the crowd loves it. Here he comes. He's approaching the infield. You can see the dirt. The mound is in his sight. Boom, he's approaching the infield. Rubbling, bubbling, stumbling. It's John Rocker, the closer of the Braves.
And he can flat out bring it. Look there what he's done, 24 saves. This guy's a real deal. He's got a great fastball. See the 70 strikeouts there, just 33 hits in 51 and 2/3 inning. Leo Mazzoni loves this guy, and you see him running in out there. In 50 innings, just 33 hits, 2.31. He throws the ball from about 94 to 98 on a good night, 98. Hard slider, doesn't have really anything soft yet. Going to have to develop an off-speed pitch, but there's his 93, and that's probably it will be his slowest fastball.
Well, Brian Hunter stays in at first. Walt, three blind. Weiss, you saw as the new shortstop. What a different complexion having Rocker on, and you know, you're here with Bagwell coming up, etc., but with a 3-run deficit rather than one or two. All told, 6 of the 8 Brave runs with 2 outs. And there it is.
And they've always done that. Yep. They'll play you even with that good pitching and solid defense, good fundamental play, and then with 2 outs, they just seem to always come through.
Count is 2-1 to Billy Spires. Spires has scored 2 runs tonight, 0 for 3 and a walk. Field, yes, sir. There's Joe West, the third base umpire, so the count 2-2 to Spires with Bagwell on deck. Well, the Astros lose this series, which is about to be swept unless they come up with 3 here, Ray. Do they scratch their heads? I mean, you said, hey, you beat the Reds, and I mean, you beat the Pirates in '79, and they swamped in the playoffs. Better it seem like this. Is there a carryover for them if and when they see Atlanta in October, or this is August, and we'll see it?
Well, I think with a veteran ball club, you just, turn the page.
Rocker turned the page on Spires. 1 out in the ninth.
This is what made John Rocker so effective. You throw 95 and then you drop a breaking ball on somebody, and after seeing all that juice, you just can't respond to it. And not only is it just a nickel breaking ball. It's one of those breaking balls that goes straight down, or at least from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Sharp angle, real quick bite, tight rotation, and really tough on left-handed hitters.
Jeff Bagwell, 3 RBIs tonight. 36 home run. He has 100 RBIs on the season. In the hands of Andrew Jones, and there are 2 outs to the Astro ninth. Well, Trey showed you that the Astros will at least leave Atlanta despite the 3-game loss in first place. And the Braves will leave tonight, going to the West Coast in first place. No matter what the Mets do, both the Braves to L.A. and the Mets to San Francisco. Day off tomorrow, and they start the West Coast swing. Crowd up, crowd of 39,578. Trying to watch the Braves close out the Houston Astros. Carl Everett has 2 hits and a sac fly tonight. And Rocker is 1-1.
Real key right there. Leo Mazzoni talked about Rocker's fastball and the development of his curveball as we look at the Rockin' pitching coach.
Rockin' Leo, watch John Heavy Metal Rocker. 71 Ks in 52 1/3.
But he has learned to take something off of the breaking ball. You see 81, 82 miles an hour. Early in the season, it was like a slider. He'd throw that thing 86, 87 miles an hour, too close to his fastball. He's backed off a little bit, takes a little bit off the breaking ball, is able to throw it for strikes.
Well, Rocker with a save in all 3 games. The Braves have swept the Houston Astros. The Astros come in with the best record in the National League. The Braves send Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox after him, and although Maddox did not have a Greg Maddox-esque game, the Atlanta Braves have won all 3 games in which their big 3 have started. The final score, the Braves 8 and the Astros 5. It's been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, proud to be celebrating our 20th anniversary. For more information, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com. For Ray Knight and all